Good evening, everyone. You're watching the 80s show. My name is Cesar Dominguez, and here we are to talk about some interesting topics. I want to especially talk about Trump's meeting with the Prime Minister of Israel, whose name is Benjamin Netanyahu, as we know. And it was an interesting, in my opinion, disastrous press conference for Trump, which will be justified only, in my opinion, if it is a mean to an end, and we will get into that and we will explain what that means. So let's start from the very beginning. This was the first foreign leader to meet with President Trump since his second term began, and I'm gonna say this meeting was bad. I think it was very bad, more than bad. I mean, the meeting in and of itself, I don't know how a meeting can be good. I mean, that's logistics, but I'm talking about what my concerns and some of the right wing concerns were regarding Trump, which is obviously a war in Iran. And after listening to what they said, I think it's highly probable. I'm not going to say highly probable because that's too much. Because knowing Trump, Trump is very good at sort of exaggerating and saying something crazy in order to then sort of make a deal. Trump has said this, Trump has said that, and his goal is basically to make Iran and Israeli opposition fear him so that he can bring peace. And that would be great. And I think that that's Trump's intention. Frankly, I believe it is. But the problem with Trump is the following. If you've been following the donors, if you've been following the people that have donated money to Trump, it is clear that there has been a big influence of Jewish donors or AIPAC donors. AIPAC has contributed, AIPAC has given Trump, I think, $230 million in the 2024 election. Like, that's a hell of a lot of money. And if we think about the shift that the Trump campaign has had throughout the years, well, it's clear, 2016 it was 70% small donations, and 2024 it was 24%, 28% small donations. So there's been a big change there. And the big concern everybody, or at least me and the most perceptive people have got, is this possible conflict with Israel, and I would say the conflict of interests, because we've got the AIPAC lobby, whose interest is obviously greater Israel and making Israel bigger than ever. I'm talking about physically expanding Israel. They want to annex the Strip of Gaza. I think they even want to go further. I mean, Greater Israel, I think, is the whole West Bank, or even more than that. I think it's the whole West Bank. I don't want to be wrong. So I don't really know much about the Middle East. I'm not very versed on this subject, but the truth is this. The flux of money that AIPAC has given Trump is outstanding, as we're talking about $230 million. That's a lot of money if we talk about the campaign. Let's think about the fact that Trump, in his campaign, has spent 278 or $290 million. So he has basically, AIPAC basically gave Trump half of that, more than that. So we need to understand that Trump compromised, and is compromising, I think, with donors and also with Jewish donors. I understand it's controversial for me to say this. I shouldn't say this. Or actually, no, I'll correct myself there. I should say these things because they're true. But it's not convenient for me to say it, but I'm going to say it anyway. I don't care. But the truth is that AIPAC has partially bought this election. I think they've got interests, and their interests are Greater Israel, as I said. Therefore, unfortunately, this meeting wasn't great. I gotta say, especially for the America First movement. Trump has talked about many things which would be disasters. Ethnic cleansing, I pronounced it wrongly, but understand what I'm talking about. He's talked about relocating 1.8 million Palestinians to Jordan and Egypt and neighboring countries. I think that's draconian. I mean, on the other hand, if we want to really be professional, Trump is trying to find another solution, because if you keep, because insanity is pretending to get a different outcome from doing the same thing. I mean, there's a saying which goes like that, more or less. But the problem with Trump is the donors, as I said, are the donors, and the donors want him to actually fulfill Greater Israel. And this is Israel's best chance, because the Republican Party is super pro-Israel to the core. I think it is infiltrated, frankly. I believe it is occupied. That's my opinion. And it is not based on conspiracy theories. It is based on what AIPAC says, not me. I've seen posts on AIPAC saying that 220 something congressmen are owned or economically sustained or incentivized, I don't know how you're going to say it, by AIPAC. Well, that tells you a lot, doesn't it? AIPAC has got way too much influence. And it's interesting, I'm seeing there's some patterns here. The last president to call it out was RFK, sorry, JFK, and he ended up shot in the head. I'm not saying it was Mossad necessarily, it was the CIA and the Mossad probably. It was either one of those two. I don't really know much about the Kennedy assassination, so I'm not going to dive into, and it's not today's topic, frankly. But when it comes to Trump's meeting, let's talk about the things he's talked about. So, ethnic cleansing in Gaza, so relocating 1.8 million people, by the way. But before, there used to be like 2.2 million Palestinians. And now it's 1.8 or 1.7. So we're talking about hundreds of thousands of Palestinians being killed throughout the last years. And that's insanely sad, I believe. And again, I am not even pro-Palestine. I mean, maybe I am, I guess. I'm not pro-Israel, frankly. But I do recognize that Palestine's leadership is horrible because Hamas are terrorists, whether you like it or not. Hamas is terrorism. But we have to also admit, as professionals, as people who are perceptive enough to understand basic concepts and basic logic, that Benjamin Netanyahu is a war criminal, that Israel is being perpetrating a genocide. And whether you like it or not, that's the truth, because he's killed 47,000, I think, civilians, and that's heinous. With the excuse that Hamas is using human shields. I'm like, this is disgusting. Hamas is using human shields. You're basically bombing Palestine and bombing civilians, and that's heinous. And that's something which should be called out. But legacy media has not got the balls to do it, because they're probably all owned by Jewish lobbyists and donors and Jewish interests. Probably, I'm just assuming. I'm just making some assumptions which I think make much sense in my opinion. But the most concerning thing in this press conference was Trump hinting at potential draft of soldiers in Gaza. And this is the thing I like about Trump. One of the things I like about, there are some things which I like about Trump and some things which I don't like. I am pro-Trump. I think he's done a great job so far, but this press conference might ruin everything, frankly. And this Middle East foreign policy might ruin everything, in my opinion. But the problem with Trump is the following. Let's be professional here. The thing about Trump is this, and the reason why I like him is because he didn't start a war in his first term. He wasn't an interventionist. He didn't start a useless and expensive war in the Middle East. But now he's hinting at the same thing. Oh, we will send 20-year-old males in the strip of Gaza to rebuild the strip for Israel and then give it to Israel. Well, fuck that garbage. That's not America for us. That's treason. And MAGA has to revolt against this. They have to. Because if they don't do it, then Trump can get away with basically betraying America for us completely and utterly, which is the only reason he ever became a politician in the first place. So this is truly, again, this is shit. Let's just be real. This is treason. This is disgusting. This is heinous. This is the same thing which Bush did. This is the same thing which Biden did. This is the same thing which Obama did. This is the same thing which Clinton did. This is the same thing which every president other than Trump did. Yet, MAGA seems, if MAGA doesn't complain about this, which I hope they do, then it's a cult, because Trump is basically talking about drafting personnel in the Strip of Gaza for Israel's interest. How's that America first? It's not America first. And you can like it, you can bear it, you can hate it, you can love it. It's not America first. Objectively, America first means nationalism. And this is crap. So that's my biggest concern. Relocating people, well, that's an issue, that's not great. Inarguably, relocating people, it is not great. And I believe that the best solution, I mean, I'm not an expert on foreign policy, especially when it comes to the Middle East. I genuinely know nothing about the Middle East. I barely know which countries are there. I mean, I'm not that bad at geography. I know which countries are there more or less, but I don't really know much about the Middle East. Let's just say it in that way. But what I do know and what I think is true, I think a two-state solution would be the best solution, giving Palestine a state. But then you also need to change the leadership of Palestine, because Hamas can't be the leader of Palestine, because Hamas are terrorists, whether you like it or not. I mean, we can't escape it. We can't deny that. You can be pro-Palestine, which is some people's cases. My case is maybe more unbiased and more centrist. I'm not pro-Israel. I don't really know where I fall on the political spectrum. But the thing is this: even if you're pro-Palestine, you gotta make that Hamas needs to go, because Hamas means terrorists. Hamas means terrorism. Hamas means the death of hundreds of people, like on October the 7th. But October the 7th isn't a terrorist attack, even though it's a big one. Of course, I'm not denying that. October the 7th can't be an excuse for a genocide and for ethnic cleansing and for destroying a whole nation and the whole strip of Gaza. It's not an excuse, frankly. And Israel has committed genocide. I will keep saying this until they shut me off, literally, which means they shot me. They should be. So Israel has committed genocide. And we knew Trump was going to support Israel, which is, I don't even think it's an issue. The problem is putting Israel's interests above America's interests. And that's what Trump has hinted at. Again, he's not done anything yet. So I'm yet to sort of really heavily criticize him. But this press conference was extremely concerning, in my opinion. Oh, drafting, 18-year-olds for Israel's interests? They will die there in Gaza? That's America first? That's America first? That's Israel first. It objectively, it undeniably is Israel first. What can you argue against? I mean, what other conclusion can you draw? That's the whole premise of America first is America only, and our interests can be further than other people's interests. And one of the biggest core principles of America first is not drafting any soldiers in foreign nations, which is what every other president but Trump did in the last 71 years. Yet we will defend this garbage. I mean, some people in MAGA would say, oh, we're going to take Gaza. Who cares? Why does America need Gaza? The Strip of Gaza. Let's be honest here. Why does America need Gaza? Gaza is in the Middle East. America is in Northern America, geographically speaking. Why do they need it? Doesn't make sense. It makes sense because we understand that the Jewish donors are responsible for this. But this is the big issue. Then when it comes to other things, they've talked about, annexing the Gaza Strip, and that's the thing. Relocating people, which is ethnic cleansing, which is, I think, heinous. And the problem is this with Trump, and I've spoken about this at length, and I was proven right again, probably. There has been a shift in Trump's policies since he first ran in 2016, which is impossible not to notice. If you don't notice this change, you're amateurish, to say the least. If you don't notice what has happened here, you're amateurish. Because Trump in 2016 ran with the premise of making America great again, like it did in 2020, like it did in 2024. And it was all about giving the power back to the people. It was all about taking out the donors. And in fact, the campaign was self-funded. I mean, there have been donors who donate money to him, certainly, but it was self-funded mainly. And it was this guy, high energy, America first. We will withdraw troops from Middle East, Asia, even Europe. And in 2024, he pondered to Israel. He has become extremely submissive when it comes to Israel. It looks like Netanyahu is the president, not Trump. Whatever he wants. What will he want? Peace or greater Israel? What will he want? Let's be real here. Let's be professional. Let's not be amateurish, because I'm not going to be an amateur here. What does Benjamin Netanyahu want? Trump says he wants peace. Probably wants peace. But you don't think he wants also to annex territory? I mean, it's plausible, given his words and actions, isn't it? So that's a big concern, and that's a big issue. And that's the biggest issue Trump will face. And the donors want greater Israel. The donors want to annex the Strip of Gaza. The donors want those things. I believe in my heart, I believe that in Trump's heart, America's interests come first, but he's the president of the United States, and what he truly believes and what he does could be two different things, which highlights the fact that there are some influencers, economically speaking, that are maybe pulling the strings. I'm just saying. Also legal immigration. Also immigration, guys. Trump is failing brutally. ICE is not showing the number of illegal aliens they are deporting daily. They're not showing it anymore. And the reason is because these numbers suck. In 2 days, they have deported, 736 people. That was the first 2 days of February. And that's a mass deportation when 10 million illegal aliens have come into the country under Biden alone. Yes, 350 illegal aliens per day is, fewer than Biden. Could be even fewer than Biden. And you call that a mass deportation? That's a mass deportation? Deporting fewer people than Biden? Deporting way fewer people than Obama? That's a mass deportation? I call it a hoax. That's the way I'd like to call it. A mass deportation. Yeah, deporting 250 people per day. Well, I guess that's a mass deportation. I'm sure it is. Yes, we need to be professional here and understand that Trump has severely compromised. Severely. Now, one thing to Trump's credit, if there is anybody who can go against the interests of the donors, it has to be Trump. If there is anybody who can be called by a donor, Jewish donor, and says, listen, let's go to war to Iran. And if there is anybody who can pick up the phone and say, no, I said no war, I don't care, it's him. But, as I said last time, and then I will talk about the press conference more extensively, because we've spoken about it. I'm repeating the things I said last time. But we are relying on a 78-year-old man against loads of donors who are younger, maybe even more energetic. I don't know. Sounds like a very hard thing to pull off, frankly. But we have talked about this at length. What else have Netanyahu and Trump said? So they have talked about, Iran, and something which I like that Trump said was that if Iran assassinated him, he said that he left instructions which basically imply that if Trump were to be assassinated by Iran, Iran would be obliterated and wiped out of the face of the earth, which is fine. I mean, that's based. I mean, I wouldn't say it's based. It's great. I mean, I would do the same if our president wouldn't die. But they don't want to give, Trump doesn't want to give nuclear weapons to Iran, which is fine as a concept. And I hope that Trump can pull off Abraham Accords, and I hope that Trump will choose diplomacy over foreign intervention, which would be a disaster, by the way, which would be a disaster economically speaking, which would be a disaster in terms of lives wasted and uselessly and needlessly killed. I hope it doesn't go that way. But the problem is the following. The problem isn't Trump in and of itself. I think if it were just up to Trump, Trump wouldn't even, consider wanting to draft military soldiers in Gaza. But the problem is Benjamin Netanyahu and the elitists and the Jewish lobbyists who control thoroughly the Republican Party. I mean, again, I know I'm getting conspiratorial, but AIPAC says this. It's not me. It's AIPAC in broad daylight. Oh, they say that more than 300 seats in the Congress are owned by AIPAC, 75%. And then you say that there is no foreign interest or any of that or any of that stuff. Well, that's bullshit. I think you're saying bullshit to say that. So that's the problem with Trump, as I said. So they talk about relocating people, ethnic cleansing, annexing the Strip of Gaza, which is what they want to do there is criminal. And if Trump did it, I'd lose a lot of the respect I have for him, because he would basically become one of them. And by them, I mean the Republican establishment, the GOP. He would become one of them. He would, of course, because that's what Bush did. Oh, Iraq, there were weapons of mass destruction. Let's go and waste hundreds of thousands. Well, maybe not that much, but let's waste thousands of lives. Let's waste billions and hundreds of billions of dollars. Let's just, who cares? Let's just go there and do this. I don't care. Like, I don't want Trump to become one of them. I want Trump to be an America first president, which is something that America hasn't had in a few years. I don't know since when, to be honest, because I'm not so great. I'm not so versed with American interest. Sorry, not with American history. I stuttered there. But this is the problem with Trump. He is, I think, a great leader. I like him. And I'm pro-Trump, even though I disagree with his policy and his relevant with his own one. If this whole let's annex the Strip of Gaza, I will draft people to go and die for Israel. If this is just a mean to an end, which is to force Iran and use diplomacy, then it's fine. Words don't matter so much in this context. I don't really care. I understand, okay, Trump has said that he wants to basically ethnically cleanse a whole population. That's horrible. I'm not saying it isn't. But one thing is saying it, one thing is carrying it out. If you say it as a threat and as a way to get to diplomacy, fine. Great, good job. But if you're really gonna follow through that, then that's heinous and evil. And Benjamin Netanyahu is evil, in my opinion. So this is the Middle East. What's my prediction, guys? I don't know. I don't truly know. Because I think Israel and the lobbyists will try their best in these 2 years. And the reason is very simple. It's so simple, actually. This is the best chance they've got. Trump is insanely pro-Israel. So is the GOP. And Republicans are now in charge of everything. House, Senate, and White House. And if there is anything Republicans agree on, is supporting Israel through the core. There is no Mitch McConnell or any of those guys who are gonna vote against sending billions to Israel. So that's the biggest concern, and war with Iran would be a failure like we've never seen before. Like Trump would go down as one of the worst presidents in US history, in my opinion, without a doubt. Maybe the cultist side of MAGA will disagree with that and say, oh, we need to go and die for Israel in Iran because Israel is under threat. Well, that's not America first. It's not. Whether you like it or not, that's not America first. America first is different. America first is America only. Last thing about immigration, guys. As I said, deportations will not happen. I've been clear about this, and ICE has arrested 350 people per average, and this is just shit. Let's just be honest. This is just bad. Let's just be right honest here. I mean, they haven't even published the numbers yet. That's 736 deportations in 2 days. It would be a problem in 1 day, but let alone in 2 days. Like, mass deportations aren't happening. And I will explain you why. Very simply. The reason is this. ICE, in order to deport more people, in order to deport thousands of people, needs money. They need huge sums of money, which they can only get through, if it's approved by the Congress, which means House of Representatives and Senate. The House of Representatives, in the current moment, Republicans have got a majority of two people, 219 to 217. Senate, it's better than that. It's 53-37 plus JD, so it's 4 actually. If 3 guys vote against some bill and 50 Republicans vote in favor of it, then there is JD Vance to break the tie. So that's okay, great. And to deport 10 million people, you need a hell of a lot of money. And they can only get that through Congress. And the problem with that is that the economy will then face a correction because it's objectively expensive. You know, there were reports saying that it's $88 billion per 1 million people deported. And that's $1 trillion if you deport 10 million people, slightly less than that. If you deport 11 or 12 million people. And that will be a problem for the other donors who are the techno donors. You think, as much as I like Elon Musk, frankly, I like him. As much as Elon Musk is a person I like, and all this, Elon Musk, do you think Elon Musk out of nowhere came out and supported Trump, donated $200 million to his campaign? Or do you think he has some interests there? He has some interests there. Mark Zuckerberg, he didn't donate to Trump, but they probably made a deal and those sorts of things and blah 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 blah. So as soon as these guys complain and turn on him, Trump is gonna be like, I can't. And then there is the midterms. Midterms are also gonna be a huge thing. Because if you carry out large deportations and if you are decisive with them, then the media is gonna turn on you. And the media is gonna be like, oh, look at this woman crying. Look at this kid crying. Look at this kid left by himself, family separation, backlash, and they lose the midterms, and then it's gone. When they don't have a majority in both chambers of the Congress, then that's game over. So mass deportations are not going to happen. And same thing can be said, I was about to say, for the Middle East. I doubt the Middle East will be as smooth, even though it wasn't very smooth in the first term. It's going to be objectively hard. Guys, I'll see you next time. This is the end of today's live stream, which wasn't very successful, but I didn't announce it previously, so I guess that's the reason why. See you next time and have a good one. Bye bye. Let me know your thoughts.